All right, let's do book 4 of the Cradle series, Skysworn by Will Wight. You guys might be like, hey, writing Gent, you're wearing the same outfit as you wore in other videos. Well, that's because I've been plowing through the series very quickly, and I'm recording the videos because I've gotten through almost one of these books every other day. But let's get talking about this. This is actually going to probably be the most critical I am of any of the books, but we'll see. I mean, there's still, 4 more books for me to go through, so. Okay, so good things. Expansion of the world building, as always. Will's been just building and building and building and building and building. And I think that's good. It's not to the point of like, oh, okay, where are we at? And there's plenty of great fantasy series that are like that. Wheel of Time is kind of like that sometimes, where it's like, wait, what? Who is this character that showed up 10 books ago? Oh, it's that character. Okay. I think he keeps the world pretty tight. We do get more areas and stuff like that. We haven't returned to any of our previous areas. I'm hopeful that we'll get to return to some places as the story progresses and goes on. But again, these books are short, so usually there's only time for one main plot and a few little subplots involved. We do get the duel between Lyndon and Jailong in this book. I don't want to say too much about it because I don't want to spoil it for people. So there is a lot of good action and things in this book specifically for that scene, and I really enjoyed it. I'm scared of saying too much without giving too much away, but I think it was really well done, and it kind of showed us a bit more about what Lyndon is capable of and what he's not capable of. They added, so I've really enjoyed the characters that Will has been adding to the series. I think Ethan's my favorite. He's really funny, and I enjoy that. And I kind of like a character who is cocky as hell. It's just funny and just enjoyable. In the first appearance, not the first appearance he had, but his main part in Soulsmith, when he's in the battle with Lyndon and basically moving Lyndon around like, a puppet while the fight's going on around them, is fantastic. And I was laughing as it was going on. I really enjoyed that, and I really enjoy his character. And I think Will's doing a good job exploring all of his characters in this book. And we have a new potential powerful side character. I don't want to give too much away, so I'm not going to say who. But there is a new side character that seems like they're going to be important to the story moving forward, and so I'm really excited to see where that character progresses. There's not a whole lot about them in this book, but there's enough that my interest has been piqued. Okay. Some cons. So one big criticism I have is that the duel, I think we have like 6 months between when the events of book 3 end and the duel takes place in book 4, and we don't get to see Lyndon train for the duel. I feel like that was kind of wasted potential. I get why he did it, because it sets it up for better moments later on and more important things. And I think he wanted to stop Lyndon from powering up too much, and he's afraid if he puts too many of those like training sequences, he has to, if you put a training sequence in, you have to have some kind of payoff from it. There has to be something gained. I think he still could have done that without powering Lyndon up and feeling like it was unearned, because he's been jumping levels very quickly up until this point. But I think that it was a wasted opportunity, that maybe we could have seen some setup for the duel a little bit more and gotten a little bit more payoff from that. Okay. if you have not read the book yet, I'm going to recommend you stop watching this video because I'm going to do some spoilers because these are some big criticisms I want to talk about, and they're very specific. So you have been warned. Spoiler warning right here. Stop the video. Go on. Get out right now. If you're still here in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, you've been warned. So, in the duel with Jai Long, Lyndon loses his right arm. And I think that was a great choice because I think Lyndon has been getting by beating these more powerful opponents, like really way more powerful opponents for many books, and there has been no consequences for his actions. And I think while the duel itself was very cool, and I think the arm was a good choice, he almost immediately gets a replacement prosthetic, which I get is a thing in this world, and it's a world-building thing. I understand, but we don't get any real emotional weight from that. Like, the kid just lost an arm, and there is, like, hints that Ethan feels bad, and, you know, that change, like, kind of pushes him a little bit in character growth, but, like, I wanted more time in Lyndon's head for him to really process that he literally just lost a fucking arm. So, and I think that was a huge missed opportunity. Also, later in the book, there's a trial sequence for them to get into the Skysworn, and we get to see the first 2-3 challenges from Lyndon's. We don't get to see any of Yaren. I think that's how you pronounce her name. But we get to see Lyndon's the first 3, which is fine because she's going to pass no matter what. Like, it's clear that she's very superior at her level. Whereas Lyndon is kind of, well, I think he does. I'm going back and forth now, but he does a good thing with prior to the trial where he kind of shows off how much above Lyndon is than some of the other people at his tier, which I think was clever and good. But the trial sequence itself is weak. We don't really get a whole lot of detail, and Lyndon is kind of just shoved through the trial. We know he's going to pass, so I think that Will was kind of thinking, I mean, I can't speak for what he was thinking when he wrote, but I think that he probably thought that there's no point in me writing this out because we know Lyndon is not going to fail, right? I shouldn't waste time describing every single bit of this trial. He just comes out the end, which was funny. But I would have liked a little bit. I think that would have been a good spot to develop some other side characters as well as really dive into his strengths. And I think he could have reduced, because I think he says there's technically like 10 obstacles for Lyndon to get through, and we only see 3. He could have left it at 3 but detailed them out more, and I think that would have been fine. It's not a huge thing. It's a little thing that I think that was kind of a slightly missed opportunity. And again, everyone has their own personal tastes and their own personal writing style. This is just something that I think that I would personally do if I was talking to Will personally. This is something that would be like, hey, you might want to look at amping up the stakes here a little bit more. Just overall thoughts about this book. This has probably been my least favorite book in this series so far. The first 3 books I thought were just better and better each time. But this book I was kind of like, okay. I think there's a few reasons for that. I wrote a lot of notes on this section. This is probably the one I've wrote the most for. So, I think that this book tried to fit too many things into one book. We've got the duel with Jai Long. We've got the trial for the Skysworn. We've got a final climactic battle. That's a lot for a pretty short book to try to fit together. I honestly think that you could have done the duel as one book and the other 2 as another book. Now, I get not wanting to waste time on like the duel. I don't think he really, like, we know what's kind of going to happen. Lyndon's never going to be able to catch up to Jai Long in that amount of time. But I think that if we had gotten to the climax and it had been the duel and he lost an arm and we kind of got to deal with the aftermath of that, that would have been a much better payoff, because they can't always win. And I know they don't technically win at the end of this book, but I feel like this book had a lot of like setup stuff. And I mean, I've talked about the publication dates before. I mean, this dude is pumping out books real fast in this series. I don't know if he had, because I know a lot of writers write multiple books before they get published, so I don't know if he had multiple of these books ready to go and just was able to pop them out back to back to back, and all he had to do was revisions and stuff like that. But part of this, to me, and it could be completely wrong, it feels like a little bit of burnout. He's just been pumping them out too quick, and that maybe it would have been beneficial to take a step back, let this one sit for a little bit longer, and then redo it a little bit. That's just, I don't know the dude personally. I don't know his writing style. I don't know how he's gone about publishing. I don't know if he's got requirements to publish this many books this fast. I don't know. That's just kind of what I thought when I finished it. Last big thing. So we know from the other books that this is going to be an expansive world, the multi-worlds, because we're going to get into the cosmos level at some point. So we got, Sacred Valley, and then we've gotten, the Wilds, and now we've gotten the Black Flame Empire. And I think the first three were good, because I think with the first book with Sacred Valley, it's a setup zone, and I can see kind of like, I feel like, I think he did a good job of not writing himself into a corner there and basically using it as like the area is cursed and they can only, we don't know what's going on with that yet, but there's something weird going on with Sacred Valley. And then the Wilds were part of the Black Flame Empire anyway. They were just like the outskirts. So I think that was fine. But now we get like a step above the Black Flame Empire that controls the Black Flame Empire, and I think that has like rule over like the continent, and there's like multiple territories in that, and I think that's okay. I think that's, obviously you've got to keep stepping up, you've got to keep raising the power level, you've got to keep increasing the how much of the world you're exploring. I think this was done too fast. I am really interested in this Black Flame Empire, and I feel like we've barely scratched the surface of the world building for that yet. And then we get a threat and a group above the characters that we know now that's even higher than them by like a significant margin, where Ethan is feeling like he's just could be instantly killed for no reason. And it's just like obviously we've got to keep scaling up because we're going to Cosmos. So there's going to be a lot of scaling up. I imagine there's more people above even this, because we know about we know about them because we've been foreshadowed them in the first book. But I think that it was too quick to jump from threats to the Black Flame Empire to having someone that's over top of them. I wanted to learn more about the Black Flame Empire first, and about the families that are there and the politics that are going on and how that's being resolved and taken care of. And now I feel like it doesn't matter because we've got a new bigger dog. Like, that's kind of how I felt when we had the Wilds in book 2, and there was all the little families and clans out there that were fighting amongst each other for territory and artifacts and stuff like that, And then we moved to the Black Flame Empire, but that was incorporated in the book that I liked. And I thought it was a good way to show that, like, the big dogs here are not the big dogs everywhere. And I think that would have been good setup for the future. But I think it was just too early. We just needed some more time sitting with that, at least for me. You might disagree with me. That was just the point that got me the most. I was just like, okay, so now we've got a monarch level sacred artists who's like, let's see, I think there's Underlord, Overlord, Archlord, Herald, Monarch, and then Sage. I don't know where those all fit in together quite yet. But Monarch's like 3 or 4 stages above Aethan, and Aethan's 2 or 3 stages above Linden, and it's like we know we need to get there. Just like you've got time, man. You've got time. You can write 20, 25 of these books. I will read them, but jumping too quickly makes it reduces the stakes towards our characters. It makes it feel like, okay, someone bigger can just step in and save the day. It's just my personal opinion. So, as always, if you don't agree with me, you can always, comment down below and we can talk about it. I am always open to changing my mind if someone has a good point. And, everyone's entitled to their own opinion. So if you like it and you think it's cool, that's totally fine. I'm not saying this is even with this being my least favorite book of this series so far. It's still a good book. Like, it's still great. It's still fun. I had a good time. I'm really enjoying this series, and I'm plowing through these books like a madman, and I really am excited to see where it goes. So, all right, I think that's going to be it for me. So I will see you guys next time.